Good morning and a very warm welcome to each and every one of you here with us today for our webinar with Saahil Mehta. On behalf of Right Selection, a very warm welcome once again. Just to give you a brief introduction of our organization. For the last 25 years, we've been collaborating with an elite group of global thought leaders, speakers, trainers, and executive coaches. These experts have come to the Gulf region, the Indian subcontinent, to share their vision, their insights, and their expertise with a community of top professionals and leaders like yourself. Our aim is to inspire leaders like you not only to pursue greatness, but also to create future leaders within your organization for ongoing growth and success. Our webinars, as you know, for those who've attended in the last couple of months or so since we've been in lockdown, March, April, and now May, we've had over 7,500 people attend our various webinars. And we've been delighted to sponsor these as a gesture of goodwill to give back to the community. Having said that, we are supporting an NGO by the name of Building Blocks. And Building Blocks is an initiative where they have educated children who are living in the slums. They have over 15 schools. So whilst they're unable to run the schools, they're not even able to do digital learning because the children in the slums do not have that technology. But this gives us an opportunity to provide food and nutrition to the children in the slums. So that's something we're going to be sharing with you. If you can basically click on the link, you have an opportunity to give back and support those in need. Thank you. I'm going to just share a few slides we have before we get started. So today we have to thank Passionpreneur Publishing for their support as our partner in supporting our webinars. We also have the opportunity for you and those interested in partnering with the Right Selection. If this is something of interest to you, do connect with us, as that's a great opportunity. For those who'd like to connect with me on LinkedIn, it'll be my pleasure. I like connecting with like-minded, like-hearted people. So please do connect with me on LinkedIn. And at the end of the session today, do share your feedback. That would be great on our LinkedIn post. As I shared, we're supporting Building Blocks. Our goal is to feed 2,000 families and children in the slums. So your support is highly appreciated. This is our opportunity to give back to those in need. This is one of our partners, Qatar. If you have content you're looking to share, then this is a great opportunity to reach out to them. Our next webinar on Wednesday is with the renowned #1 leadership coach, thinker, speaker, Marshall Goldsmith. These are our webinars we've hosted in May. And last but not least, the Google Chrome is your browser. Please use that. Keep your mobiles away, but be fully present to benefit from the session today. We want to ensure you enjoy this high-value webinar for you. Keep a paper and pen, lots of ideas and notes for action. And yes, keep a glass of water next to you to keep hydrated. The format for today is where Saahil will be speaking for about 20 to 30 minutes, and then we'll open up the session for Q&A. So to introduce our speaker for today, Saahil Mehta, to share in brief, Saahil was struggling to balance his life and career over the last 18 years and having senses of, between family, a frantic feeling of anxiety. He was stretched in all directions to really find his true self, his authentic self. He found a sense of emptiness and unhappiness in its place. And as leaders, we all face an overwhelming sort of pressure, and even more so today, because in the middle of your homes, you're running, taking care of your health, your business or your profession, your family. So there's a lot to take care of. And he was blessed to have visited over 5 countries across the continents, which gave him a global outlook across cultures. So it's not that he just lived in Dubai, where he is reporting live today, but really he's traveled the globe and lived in many countries. And he had a transformational experience. It was actually when he was trekking across summits. The world's tallest mountains, Kilimanjaro, with over 5,800 meters, tallest mountain in Africa. Elbrus, the tallest mountain in Europe. Kalapatar, a little higher than the base of Everest. So all these experiences really unmasked an environmental experience without any judgment. And his eyes opened up to what could be without encumbered by the negative thoughts and opinions of others, because he was cut away from the hustle and bustle of the world. And he's going to be sharing with you today 4 different areas that you can declutter your life. And it's been a real pleasure to have him as one of my coaches and help me declutter a particular area of my life. And he's made a tremendous difference to me personally. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Saahil Mehta.
Thank you for the introduction, Gautam. Good morning, everyone. Or good evening, depending on where in the world you are. Can you hear me, Gautam?
I can hear you loud and clear. You can take it forward.
Perfect. Thank you. Okay, well, let's begin. Here we go. So thank you, everyone. Today, I'm going to really be offering you a different perspective, by helping you to change your lens and start seeing things from a different angle. And the purpose of this is to remove the mental and physical clutter that you have in your life. So let's start with the question, who am I? This is a question that has always challenged me and troubled me. I didn't choose my name. I didn't choose my ethnicity. I didn't choose my religion. These were all labels that were put upon me. And this made it hard for me to then go deep within and find out who I really am and what is my purpose in life. Coupled with that, one of the things that I always did was I wore a mask of making other people happy. By making others people happy, it made me happy. But at what did I have to sacrifice in order to get that? Because as we all know, you could be the best person in the world. Even someone like a Mahatma Gandhi, who was loved by many, still had enemies. So it's impossible to make everyone happy. And what that did to me was that stretched me in all directions. Because I was trying to keep my colleagues happy and my partners and my family in the business. I was trying to keep my family happy at the home. I was trying to keep myself happy. And to some extent, because I give a lot to the community, I was trying to make them happy as well. But what that meant was that I was just being stretched in all directions. And that led me to a lot of stress and anxiety. But luckily for me, a few years ago, 4 years ago to be precise, I was on a trip in Europe with 7 dear friends of mine, and we all agreed that we would create a safe space with each other. Now, what does that mean, you may ask? We said that we would not judge one another during these 4 days so that we could be authentically ourselves. And I experienced magic during those 4 days, because as I removed all these masks of trying to please others and trying to portray myself to be someone to impress the people in front of me, and said, you know what, it doesn't matter, I'm not being judged, I can just be myself, I felt joy and happiness. And I couldn't remember the last time I felt that way for such a long duration of 4 days. Yes, I get it every now and again in small spurts, but I didn't feel it for days. And the last time I believe I could remember was when I was a young child. So for all of you that are in the presence or meet or interact with young children, you see that they're just filled with compassion and love. And that's how I felt for 4 days straight. So as I'm coming back to Dubai, I want to share this with my wife, this magical experience. So I start writing it down, and then I start getting very emotional. And I realized that as I removed all these masks and all these walls that I thought were protecting me, I actually found joy, and I let all this positive energy flow. And I realized the power of vulnerability. So that's when I said to myself, I'm going to make myself the number one priority. Because if I can come back and live in the world that we live in today and feel the same way I did during those 4 days, I will become a much better person. As I become a better person, the energy that I radiate and my frequency is changing, and I'm starting to radiate a lot more positivity, which can be absorbed by others, but I'm also attracting a lot more positive in my life. So some people say, hey, but if you make yourself your number one priority, isn't that a bit selfish? And I say, no, because when I become a better person, I emit a better energy level, and I'm attracting, as I mentioned before, higher, and stronger and positive energy levels. So it's also affecting all those things around me. So what were the results that I got through this process before I continue? And these were the 5 that I want to highlight. I got more time to fill with my passion and priorities. I have more focus and awareness. I've created stronger and deeper relationships. I start each day on a high and with more energy. And finally, I'm now living life with love rather than fear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you tools that are going to help you to overcome mental overload. If you see this picture, you may remember from these old prison movies that they used to tie a ball and chain around your leg. Now, I realized that I had a lot of clutter. As I started to reflect, I had a lot of clutter that I was carrying with me. So that was essentially a lot of these balls and chains that were wrapped around my leg. And how do I expect to run if I have all this weight that I'm trying to drag with me? How hard does it become? How am I expected to fly? So as I started noting down all the clutter in my life, I said to myself, okay, let's identify the easier ones to break free from and start going and attacking them one at a time so I could cut the ball and chain off, allowing me to become lighter, which allows me to move faster and soar to new heights. And this is what I want to do with you by providing you simple tools that you can implement immediately after this webinar today. So before I start on the process, I do want to highlight one big misconception in the world, that happiness lies in the external world. Being born in the 70s, I've seen decade after decade, healthcare improves, technology has improved, so many things have improved, but what about mental health? We're seeing astronomical figures and challenges in the world of mental health. Today, if you look at these statistics from the World Health Organization, you can see that even though we've moved forward in so many different areas in our lives and with technology, one area where it feels that we've moved backwards is in the area of mental health. And I want to highlight the first point here, that 20% of the world's population has some form of a mental disorder. So if I just look at the number of people on this webinar right now, which is over 300, we have 80 people that have some sort of a mental disorder. So it's a very high number. But the good news is that all the answers lie within. I found through my process that as I reflected and went deeper and deeper within, I was able to get all the answers I was looking for. So let's start with the process. Here's the process I've developed over the years, 4 years of decluttering my own life. I came up with this model that is simplified and that can be implemented by all of you. So just like a target, when you go shooting or you're doing archery or any sort of target practice, you know that hitting the outside is easier. And as you get closer and closer to the center, it gets harder. So we're going to start with decluttering from the material world, then we'll move on to the body, then on to people, and then finally the mind. And that will help you to get one step closer to finding out your why. As many of you already know, the 2 most important days in your life are the day you're born and the day you find out why. So this is a picture of myself. My wife is in the light blue at the bottom of the picture, and 4 other ladies. And this is at the top of Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. And why am I sharing this image with you? On this trip, I asked each of these ladies, what do you miss the most? And the 3 common answers were, and please, this is excluding family, right? Because otherwise everyone was missing their family. But excluding family, the 3 things were a warm room, running water, and a bed. Imagine, these are the things that we need, right? These are the necessities in life. We need food, we need shelter, we need clothing, right? So they were only thinking about the bare necessities. No one was thinking about missing a fancy restaurant or a fancy car or a fancy watch or fancy jewelry. No one was thinking of any of those things because they realized very quickly what the difference was between a want and a need. I was very guilty before saying, I need this, I need that, I need to buy a new car, I need to buy a new pen, I need to buy a new watch, I need to go on holiday. But these are not needs, these are wants. What I do need is house, food, and just simple clothing. So when I started switching that in my mind and saying, I want this and I want that, I realized that most of these are desires. And then I questioned myself as well, do I really, really want this? Because rather than becoming an impulse buyer, I said to myself, let me first distinguish in my mind how much functional benefit will this add in my life? And if it's something that's going to add function and make my life simpler and easier, I would consider buying it. Otherwise, I would really, really question hard whether it was wanted in my life. Because as we now know, there's a big difference between a want and a need. So I'm going to share with you a 3-step decluttering process that I use, which you can all implement immediately after this call. During these times of lockdown, my wife and I, we identified 5 rooms in the house, and we said, okay, we need to declutter these rooms. Now, if a room sounds overwhelming, start with one area, start with the cupboard, start with a set of drawers, start with one corner, anything, but get moving. So we basically took everything out. So I'm going to give you the example of a cupboard. I took everything out of my cupboard, all my clothes, and I put it on the bed. There was so much there that it even overflowed onto the floor. And then I divided everything into 3 piles. The first pile was, okay, I use this often and it brings me joy. I'm going to keep it. The second pile was, I can't remember the last time I wore this. Clearly, it doesn't have any functional use in my life. So let me give it away. We're so blessed and fortunate that we have these things, that we have excess, that we have abundance. How much better does it feel that if it's not being used by me, I'm giving it to someone who can benefit from it and I can put a smile on their face. So I came up with this concept that you declutter for smiles, right? So again, if something, you can't remember the last time you used it, it clearly has no use in your life, let's give it to someone where they can use it. And then the third pile was, I don't know. Do I keep it? Do I give it away? And I was confused because perhaps it had some memory attached to it, or you know how it is. It's only when you want to get rid of something, all of a sudden you think of all the reasons why you want to keep it. So what I did with that was I put it all in a box and I put that box away. And I said to myself, if I don't open that box for the next 3 months, it clearly means I don't need it and it's going to be given away so it can serve function in someone else's life. So these are tools that I hope work for you. And now we're going to move on to decluttering the body. So I share with you a statement here that if it does not feel right, it probably is not. Start with awareness. Start listening to your body. The beautiful thing about this gift that we've been given of this human body is that it's it's a very complex machine that's always sending us signs. If you're tired, it's telling you, I'm tired, I want to go to sleep. If it's hungry, it's telling you, I'm hungry, give me some food. If I eat something that doesn't feel right, every now and again you eat something, you go, oh, that didn't suit my stomach. Listen to your body. Maybe it's a food that is not suited for your body and maybe you should avoid it. Start seeing the patterns, but start listening to your body. I was so busy running around that I forgot to listen to my own self. So through awareness, I'm going to give you some tips that you can apply immediately during these times of lockdown or restricted access. 1, start reading the ingredients of all the food that is entering your house. All the packaged food, right? So now you might have some chips, you might have some peanut butter, you might have some biscuits, whatever it is that's entering, start looking at the ingredients and ask yourself, am I comfortable with putting these ingredients into my body? Because if it has artificial sweeteners, high amounts of sugar, artificial coloring, MSG, sodium nitrites and sodium nitrates, you have to ask yourself, why am I putting this into my body? And can I find a healthier alternative? I was eating granola bars as a snack. And the packaging made it look like it was eco-friendly, healthy, and all of that. But when I read the ingredients, I was shocked to see how much sugar was inside. Probably that's the reason why it tasted so good. So then I started finding other brands, or better still, making it at home. So start looking at what you're eating. The second thing, which is a misconception, is that a lot of people say, oh, carbohydrates, avoid them, eat more protein. Carbohydrates has got a little bit of a bad name out there, but let me correct that for you. It's the simple carbohydrates that you want to be avoiding. These are the sugary cereals, the high sugar items, the white bread where all the goodness has been stripped away, and you want to replace that with complex carbohydrates. These are not the refined ones, but these are the natural carbs, right? Like the fruits, the bran cereals, the wholemeal bread, etc. So again, be more aware of what you're eating and start asking yourself, is this what I want to put in my body? Because if I want my body to work for me at an optimal level with optimal health, especially in times like this when you want your immunity to be as high as possible so that you have the least amount of chance of contracting this virus, then start being more aware of what you eat. And the next thing that's very important in all of this, when it comes to the body, is sleep. Again, I used to abuse my body, right? Sleep was sacrificed for everything else. I wanted to go out and meet friends, sleep was sacrificed. I wanted to wake up early for my morning routine, sleep was sacrificed. So I said to myself, I need to focus more on my sleep. Why? Sleep is where healing happens. Sleep is where your physical and mental recovery is happening. So what tips can I share with you to ensure you get a great night's sleep? The first thing, ensure that you have at least a 2 to 3 hour gap between your dinner and your sleep. Why? Because the first step in your digestion process, or one of the first steps, is the food which is in your stomach. And before it cleans out your stomach and goes into your small intestine, that takes anywhere from 2 to 4 hours. So to ensure that there's enough gap and there's less energy being used to digest the food in your stomach and more energy available to heal, you want to make sure there's a gap, right? And here's the thing, food consumes anywhere from 10 to 30% of your energy. So if that is no longer required and less is being used for digestion, more is used for healing while you're sleeping. The second thing is don't eat a heavy protein diet for dinner or anything that is harder to break down, because the harder it is to break down, again, the more energy is required to break down the food, and then less energy is available for your healing process. And the third thing that I would say is that you need to remove all screen time at least an hour before bed. The blue light that comes from your mobile phone, your tablet, your computer, your TV, even all the lights on in the house, they reduce the production of melatonin because your brain still thinks it's daylight. And with that, it becomes harder to fall asleep. So if you stop using all these devices, you're not going to hamper the production of melatonin, and then you will fall asleep more easily and have a better night's rest. And finally, have some sort of a sleep routine, because your body understands that, okay, now I'm getting ready for bed. So that might mean changing into your pajamas, brushing your teeth, dimming the lights, perhaps putting on the air conditioner, whatever routine that you have, but have it consistent every single day. And remember, it's not only the number of hours of sleep, but it's also the time of day you fall asleep and wake up. Because most of your physical recovery happens between about 10 in the evening till about 2:30 in the morning. And from 2:30 in the morning till about 6:30, you're getting your mental recovery. So even if you sleep at 2 in the morning and wake up at 9 and say, I got 7 hours of sleep, or you wake up a little later and more sleep, your body still might feel tired because you didn't get enough of the physical recovery. So ensure that you're sleeping by a certain time, so that, again, why are we focusing on this? Your health is going to be stronger, your immune system is going to be stronger, and then your chance of catching anything is going to reduce. So here I'm sharing a photograph of me just to give you an idea. This is me from 2015 to 2019. You may wonder what that is in the 2015 picture. That's a heart rate monitor. But the only difference between these two images is that I started being more aware of what I eat and my sleep, because my exercise levels, if anything, went down. But as you can see, and just to share some statistics with you, my body fat went from 24% down to 13%. So my body just started functioning a lot more better when I stopped abusing it. Now we're going to move on to decluttering people. So here, as you can see on the slide, you see a number 6. So what I want to challenge all of you and to push all of you is, let's make it a promise to ourselves that we're going to start understanding things from other people's perspective. Because when we want to improve our relationships and create stronger and deeper relationships with our colleagues, with our friends, with our family, many times we get into certain conflicts that just don't make sense. And here's one example. If you're standing in front of me and we're facing each other and I draw this 6 on the ground, I'm going to say it's a 6. And what are you going to say? You're going to say, no, Saahil, that's a 9. And we can argue with each other till the end of day, insisting that we are right and you are wrong. But in reality, all we had to do is just ask ourselves, okay, maybe there's something more to this. Maybe there's another viewpoint. Let me try to understand it from the other person's perspective. And that's when you'll see, oh my goodness, yes, it can be a 9 or it can be a 6. Now you might say, okay, Saahil, that's a bit simple. I have some real big challenges. There's a lot of things that are not said. I keep feelings to myself. And this could be with your mother-in-law. This could be with your parents. This could be with your kids. It could be with your spouse. It could be with your colleagues. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you with a framework that I use and have implemented that can be used in all these areas of life that can help you to build stronger and deeper relationships. Because remember, in most of the cases where you have pain, you want to have a stronger relationship with them because either they're family or you work with them. And why would you want to have pain on a daily or frequent basis? So let me get to the framework. First and foremost, when I enter any conversation, I'm entering with love, with compassion and empathy. Right? Before I used to enter these conversations with either fear, because maybe it's an elder and I'm scared about the outcome, or I'm entering with anger because I've really been hurt and I want to unleash. Now, if I'm entering a conversation with a negative state of being, how can I expect to get a positive outcome? But now I'm saying I want to be deeper with, have a closer and deeper relationship with these people. So I'm going to enter it with love, empathy, and compassion so that I start on a positive note. I ensure that I find a quiet space, no distractions, right? So mobile phones aside and not in a place where there's going to be a lot of noise. I make it clear what I want the outcome to be right from the beginning. So I'm crystal clear that this is what I wish. I want this problem that we have to disappear. I want us to be closer and work on these projects more better. Whatever it is for you, but you're clear on the outcome, and you've already shown them that you're looking for something positive, so they understand and you understand that you're not trying to put someone down. No pointing of fingers, right? It's not you did this, you did that. If I'm going to say something like that to you, you're going to get defensive and you're going to go back. But rather than pointing fingers at others, talk about how you feel. No one can question how you feel, and you feel however you feel, right? And then so they get to understand what you are going through. Okay? Listen to the other person when they're speaking and not to the voice in your head. So this is kind of passive versus active listening. So let me give you an example. When you sit in an airplane and the pilot is telling you about the next destination, the weather, time of takeoff, duration of the flight, you're listening. But if someone asks you to repeat that back word for word, you'd probably be lost because you were maybe speaking to someone at the same time or listening to music or reading a magazine. The listening that I'm speaking about is as follows. I'm going to share with you 5 numbers, and they're 3 digits each. If you repeat them back to me in the exact same order without any errors, you're going to win $1 million. That's the listening I'm speaking about, where your head, the voice in your head is not coming in between and you're not interpreting anything. You're listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth to the extent where you can repeat them back to me and understand what it is that I'm saying. And then finally, do not make any assumptions. If you're not clear on something that the other person has said, ask more questions. Because when you make an assumption, you're just filling in the blanks based on your experience in the past or what you have heard or read, and you could be completely wrong. So by following this framework, I found that all the challenging or confrontational conversations that I have had to have with people, be it my father, be it my wife, be it my co-founder at the workplace, we've always come out stronger because we followed this, which is a a truthful and respectful way to communicate with one another. So next, I'm going to move on to decluttering the mind. And I want to share with you how I start my day on a high with maximum energy for maximum impact. Because I realized that there's a lot of things I couldn't control in the past. I used to wake up around the same time as the kids, get them ready, feed them breakfast, drop them to school, work out, go to the office, work, come back, spend time with the kids, spend time with the wife, maybe some friends or family, and then go to sleep. Where was me time? Where was I able to allocate time to rejuvenate myself, to energize myself? I didn't. So I realized that I had to start waking up a little bit earlier. And now I wake up 1 hour earlier before the rest of the family, so I can have an uninterrupted, peaceful 1 hour to myself, to energize myself. And before I share with you what I do, there are two no-nos that I want to highlight. One is, if you are using an alarm, or if you're waking up naturally, no snoozing, right? You don't want the first action in your day to be a snooze. Imagine that's setting precedent for the rest of the day, that I'm a snoozer, right? That's how your subconscious mind is thinking. So no snoozing. And the second thing is no newspaper, no mobile phone or TV or any gadgets before you do this morning routine. Why? Again, I was guilty of this. I used to pick up my phone first thing in the morning. I could barely open my eyes and I would start reading my messages. And I quickly found out that every now and again, I'd get a message I didn't like. Maybe a friend sent me a message I didn't like, or a client said I want to cancel my contract, or a deal didn't go through. Now imagine, I haven't even started my day and it starts, I've read something negative. And for me, that pulled me down. And to get back up was very difficult. And that usually meant that that day ended up being somewhat wasteful. And it also affected my mood and how I was behaving with other people. So it affected not just my productivity, but also my relationships with everyone around me. So we don't want to do that. We want to be on a high energy before we touch anything. So what do I do? We've been lying down for so many hours. I say to myself, okay, Saahil, just move. You want to get the blood flowing. Your heart rate goes down about 25-30% while you're sleeping, because you only need your essential organs to function so that maximum energy goes towards healing, but you need to wake that body up again. So in my case, I do the Surya Namaskar, which is the sun salutation in yoga, but you can do anything that involves movement. Walk around your apartment, walk around in your garden, walk around, do push-ups, do star jumps, do anything but just move. Get the blood flowing again around your body. The next thing I do, and again, because I practice yoga, I do a lot of pranayam, which is the breath work in yoga. But again, just take deep breaths. Take deep breaths for about 10-15 minutes. And I'm not talking about the breath where your chest goes in and out. I'm talking about those big belly breaths, right? So keep your hand on your belly. And as you breathe, you should see your belly going in and out and feel it going in and out. That's the breath I'm speaking about. Why do I do that? I want to get oxygen to my cells and oxygenate my body again to energize and wake up. The third thing that I do is meditation. Now, there are lots of different forms of meditation. There's chanting, there's guided meditation, silent meditation. I mean, numerous ones out there, and I'm happy to recommend some as well after this presentation. But find the one that works for you and try. I've met some people that have come up to me afterwards saying, I tried one day and it didn't work. I don't think it's for me. And my answer to them is, when you were a small baby and you went from crawling to walking, how many times did you fall? Did you say, oh my God, I fell, it hurts my bum, I'm not gonna walk, I'm happy crawling for the rest of my life? No, you kept trying, you kept falling, you kept getting up, but eventually you succeeded. And not only are you walking, now you're able to run. So keep practicing. There's many different types, but the important thing here is to be alone. And why do I do it? It's to center myself between the mind and the heart. Because if you're centered, you can again have most productivity and impact in the day. And then finally, what I do is journaling. And I'm going to take you through my journaling step by step. So the first three things that I write are three things that I'm grateful for. Yes, there's a lot going on in the world around me, but I'm still blessed. I'm still blessed to have good health. I'm still blessed to be with my family. I'm still blessed to have food on the plate. So these are all the things that I'm grateful for, right? And it's not the same thing every day. Whatever I feel, I write it down. The next three things I write are three things that I'm excited about. For example, today I was excited to present to all of you. So I write down whatever I'm feeling at that moment. I write down what I'm excited about. The next thing that I write is I write a positive affirmation. Now, if you search that on the internet, there are tens and tens of thousands out there. Pick the ones that resonate with you. Again, it doesn't have to be the same one. The one that I wrote this morning is, I have the power to change my life for the better, to get it right and get the desired results. That's what resonated with me this morning. And after I've completed my positive affirmation, I then go through a process of forgiveness because I want to cleanse myself before I start my day. And if I don't have someone specific to forgive or ask forgiveness from, I just forgive everyone and I ask forgiveness from everyone. Because it could be the smallest of things that I did that might have hurt someone. Maybe I was driving and I forgot to signal and someone got upset by that. Maybe I was tired when someone was speaking there and they thought I wasn't giving them attention, whatever it might be. But I just wanted to cleanse myself and be free. And then I ended with something that my kids taught me. So there's a lot to learn from children as well. I write down, today is going to be the best day ever. So now you can imagine, once I've gone through this whole process, I'm on a high. I have so much energy that even if now someone throws something negative at me, it's going to hurt me a little bit, but it's not going to knock me down like it did before because I'm highly, highly energized. It's like a battery. If it's a fully charged battery, you can keep abusing it till it gets down to zero. But if you're already at zero and someone abuses you, it's terrible, right? And the last thing that I want to leave all of you with is this simple concept that I came across of no need to worry. And when someone told me this, I said to myself, this guy's crazy. How's that even possible? How is it possible not to worry? And he said, okay, let me take you through it. And I'm going to do the same with you. Do you have a problem in life? No? Easy, nothing to worry about then. If you do have a problem in life, can you do something about it? If you can do something about it, go ahead and do it. So if you're already taken the steps to manage that situation, no need to worry. And if there's nothing you can do about it, well, then why are you worrying? Because no matter what you do, it's still going to remain as it is. Now, whether that's a downfall in economy, that's the weather, that's the traffic, whatever it is, you can't change it. It is what it is. So then why are we worrying about it? And then you might tell me that, hey, Saahil, that doesn't make sense because life is not that simple. Things can be a lot more complicated. So my answer to that is, take any situation and break it down into two parts, things that you can do something about and things you cannot. Because whatever you can't do anything about, you've already removed that, your worrying goes down. And then the things that are still left, you start putting action in place to resolve them. And again, the worrying goes down. And then worrying disappears. So with that, I want to share with you in sync with the title, Changing Your Lens, is we always talk about how things need to be added in our life to improve. So this mind shift that I want to offer all of you is, what if it meant to improve our life? It's the first step to crafting the life you want is to get rid of everything that you don't, right? Because as we get rid of all that clutter, all those balls and chains that I mentioned in the beginning, we're becoming more and more free and we can soar to new heights. So I want to leave you with one very important question. And that is, what is holding you from greatness? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Saahil. Let's just clear the slides. That was absolutely inspirational, Saahil. I can speak from personal experience that you helped me declutter my wardrobe. I said there's nothing to remove, and little did I know after 3 sessions, I removed 45 items, and I haven't even bought a thing since. And that was just one area. Currently, we're working on the exercise and fitness, and we discovered in the coaching that I sort of had a mental block with the word exercise, and just that shift to the word movement has made a dramatic difference in my activity and energy levels in the day. So, just wanted to share my gratitude to you, and obviously just acknowledge and appreciate you as a great coach in the space of helping us remove the things we really do not need. So just want to acknowledge and appreciate you from that.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed the presentation. I'm sure many of you did. And if this was a traditional workshop, I think everyone would be frantically taking notes. But even while you're in your own homes, I do encourage you to, put pen to paper. For me, my experience is when you write it down, at least, every idea that resonates with you. I mean, whether it's, no digital technology before you go to rest, the snooze button, which many of us have. There's so many actionable ideas you shared in every area of one's life. So, personally, I would like to just share, not having seen or read a newspaper since 2009, January, is one of the best decisions I've experienced, and it really triggered that thought in some of your presentation today. So before we move to the Q&A, I'm just going to ask a few poll questions so we sort of get a sense of who's with us today, Saahil. So I'm just publishing a poll. We have over 350 people who are here with us from 15 countries: USA, Germany, Sri Lanka, India, the UAE, obviously. So it's great to have a good, solid turnout, and just want to get a sense of who's in the room. So as we can see, currently about 70% are corporate professionals working with large corporate organizations. We have about 10% who are entrepreneurs working for small to medium-sized organizations, and 6% solopreneurs. So majority are, working for corporates, whichever part of the world they're in. I'll just share that online. And that's the results for that. I think everyone can see that. I would just like to know also from each of you, where are you finding your biggest challenge now in the space that you would like to explore cluttering? So I'm just publishing another poll. This will help Saahil also get a sense of where is your pain point now? So are you facing greater levels of stress and anxiety in your life? Are you stretched for time and find it hard to complete your tasks? Do you feel stress or concern, anxiety in the space of relationships, because you really want to make sure your relationships, both personally at home with your spouse, your children, your relationships with your loved ones, or even a combination of all of the above? So is there any particular key pain point? Please do share that with us. Great. I think you can see it's pretty even across the board. Everyone has different elements, and obviously a lot of us with, having to run all our lives from our homes, then it's a combination of all. And let me just do one more last poll before we move to the Q&A. From Saahil's session today, he obviously shared areas about decluttering things. Like I mentioned, the wardrobe for me, it could be your health space, it could be in the people in your life, or it could be decluttering the mind. What would you say from the session that you heard Saahil speak, what would be the one primary area that you really want to improve in your life where you feel, okay, this really added most value to me? I know each of us have different things we'd like to declutter, but what's the one thing that you're going to focus on where your biggest value add is? Decluttering materialistic things at home, be it your clothes, be it things you don't need. Decluttering the things you eat, your sleep, your energy levels. Decluttering certain people in your life, either personally, professionally, or decluttering the mind. I think you can see at least half of them is about decluttering the mind. So that's the poll, just to share that with you. But thanks once again, Saahil, for your session. The poll gave us some sense of who's there, what kind of pain they're going through. So we'll move to the Q&A, and these are questions that have come from the participants who are there. Let's start with Himanshu. Himanshu says, how to declutter a belief system in a team when members come from different schools of thought, Saahil?
So that's a great question, Himanshu. See, so if I use my experience of living in Dubai, Dubai is a cross-cultural, multi-religion. I mean, you really have a mixed salad of people over here, everyone with different mindsets as well, right? So it's not about the way we think, it's about the vision, about the destination. So as long as everyone is clear on where our starting point is and where the end point is, so from A to B, now people might have different ways of getting there, which is, various paths. But then as long as we're confirmed on the destination, we can then all go through the pros and cons of each path and collectively come to an agreement, because it's not about, I always say that variety is a good thing, because if everyone thought the same, everyone will give you the same path that you have to take, and that might not be the best and most optimal one. So the fact that you have different frames of thoughts is a good thing, but the most important is the start, the end. Once that is concluded, then go through the different paths you can take and the pros and cons of each one, and that helps you get to your destination with the best outcome.
Thank you, Saahil. The next one is from Abhishek. How do you declutter relationships when they're near and dear family?
So this is where the framework comes in, right? So I'm assuming here, Abhishek, that you mean that you want to either you don't want to spend time with them, I'm not sure, or is it that you want to get closer to them? But I'll address both of them. If it's someone you don't want to spend a lot of time with because either every time you see them, it frustrates you, it triggers anger, it triggers jealousy, it triggers some sort of emotion. The question is, who's in control of this situation? So I talked about awareness, right? Now, here's a scenario. Someone says something or looks at me a certain way or, behaves in a certain manner in front of me, and I react, right? Some sort of trigger is being pushed inside of me that is making me react. And that usually means that I'm not in control, because a reaction is, it's like when you put your finger over a flame, your brain doesn't have enough time to send a signal to your hand. The nerves feel it and immediately the hand moves out of the way. So the reaction is out of control. So it's almost like the other person is the puppet master and you're the puppet. So you no longer are in control of your actions. But how about we say, okay, let's pause, let's take a break, and let's reflect and see what is being triggered and why is it being triggered. Once I process that and I see, I go deep within and understand that it's pushing the button of anger or hate or whatever it is, I now have the ability, since I paused, to respond, not react, respond consciously. So now I am in control of how the reply will be because I've taken that time to pause. But it's very important for you to find out what emotion is being triggered, because you need to deal with that yourself at the core so that that person can no longer affect you in a negative way. And the benefit of doing it this way is that eventually you will be neutral when you see this individual rather than feel some sort of negative, being in a negative state. And the second scenario that we talked about was that you want to get closer to this individual. And that's when I say use the framework that I shared. Because if you outline what the challenge is and where you'd like the relationship to go, and you're reaching out, being vulnerable, and you're following the steps that I shared, which is no pointing fingers, no anger, listening to them, all the items of the framework, they will see that you're making a conscious effort and you've approached it with love and empathy. And even if it doesn't work out, at least you know that there's no regret from your side because you did what was in your power to make that relationship blossom. So these are the two different avenues, depending on whether you want to distance or not get affected, I should say, or get closer to the other individual.
Thank you, Saahil, for that detailed answer. This one is from Ranu. She's asking that every time we plan a strict declutter of our body, but after a couple of days we deviate and again we struggle. How do we be more disciplined in the area of health and well-being?
I love this question. So look, let's replace the word discipline with direction. Because I find just how Gautam was mentioning earlier, when you say exercise, maybe there's a mental block, but when you say movement, it's something that's easily accepted by the body because, it's just movement, I can move. So let's replace discipline, which just sounds like it's hard. It sounds like maybe only the people in the army can do it. I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I have the discipline. Let's focus on direction. So if your direction and all of you as a family agree that we want to move in this direction, then every decision you make, you have to ask yourself, is it in line with the direction that I want to go? If yes, do it. If it's not in line with the direction I want to go, then question yourself, can I find an alternative which is going to be better for me? Because a lot of alternatives are available out there. Nowadays you get a lot of the fried snacks that are available many of them are replaced with roasted snacks. People have become so much more health conscious. Foods have less salt, less sugar. So start making these choices, but the clarity has to come from direction. Because if you're not clear in your mind about the direction you want to go, then it's almost like you're a headless chicken just running around hoping for a good outcome. So direction, direction, direction.
Thank you, Sahil. There's one question I think you'll be able to answer quite quickly. Is what are the last two steps in the journaling section? If you could just repeat that and share that. Quite a few people have asked for that.
Right. So the last two steps, one is forgiveness. So in forgiveness, maybe you said something or did something to someone else and you just want to ask for forgiveness from them during that process. And maybe someone had hurt you, so you want to forgive them. Because again, you're carrying that with you, right? That's clutter that you're carrying with you and you want to let go. So you go through this process of forgiveness. And if there's no one specific that you need to ask for forgiveness or forgive, then just forgive and ask for forgiveness from everyone. And then the last step is I write down, today is going to be the best day ever. So when I've completed this process, I'm just in a very good mood, I'm on a high, and I'm ready to take on the day for maximum impact and maximum results.
Great. Thank you, Saahil. I think there's another common question coming up again about meals. When's the best time to eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, and sort of the sleeping time again? Is there a best ideal time to sleep from your experience and knowledge?
So regarding meals, I know this sounds strange, okay? Because we're so used to the convention that breakfast, lunch, dinner. Breakfast has to be before you go to work, so maybe it's at 7 or 8 o'clock. Lunch has to be around 1 o'clock, and dinner should be at maybe 7, 8, 9, depending on where you are and how far you were from your work before. So everyone was very fixed, but I say, listen to your body. There's some days where I don't have breakfast because I'm just not hungry. So why would I feed myself? Because my body is not saying, feed me, right? And there are other days where I'm having 3 meals. So it's more about listen to your body, but the body likes routine. So what you'll find is you'll start getting hungry around similar times once you have that pattern. So whatever works for you, there's no set, let's not put all these boundaries around ourselves because again, that's clutter. Let's be free. Find that time that kind of works for most people in the family and stick to that. And in terms of the time to go to bed, as I mentioned, a lot of your physical recovery is happening by around between 10:30 till about 2:30 in the morning. So if you're able to get into bed by 10 o'clock, that's ideal because then you'll fall asleep within 15 minutes and you're getting a lot of physical recovery. And think about it, in any time when we want to improve our immune system, if we're not gonna take sleep seriously enough, how do we expect to have high immunity? Right? So if we want to be as strong as possible so that no virus or no bacteria can get us sick, then sleeping and eating is a big part of that. So it's we should not take it lightly. And the last thing I would say, Gautam, as well, is because this is links to fasting. I do fasting twice a month. I fast for 24 or 36 hours twice a month. Why do I do that? Because when you're fasting and no energy goes towards digesting food, that energy is then going to go towards healing. And on top of that, there's a process called autophagy, right? Where your stronger cells are attacking the weaker cells. And the weaker cells are the ones which sometimes can become cancerous or etc., cause challenges in your body. So by fasting, which many of you may already be practicing, you actually strengthen, people think when you fast, you're not eating, you're not getting energy, but actually you're healing and you're strengthening your body as well at the same time. Now, that doesn't mean you fast for 100 days at a stretch, but if you're doing it every now and again, that's helping your body as well to heal and get stronger.
Great, thanks, Sal. I think the quite a few people asked about a particular meditation you wanted to recommend or you were about to recommend or suggest today, a particular meditation you were recommending.
So there's one app which is called Heartfulness.
Heartfulness, okay.
Yeah, Heartfulness. They actually have a center. This is based on that meditation center that's in Hyderabad. It's the largest meditation center in the world. But they have a very good app. It's a very good structure for those who want to start. It's got a guided meditation process, and then eventually you can, meditate without the guidance. But it's a great starting point. And Heartfulness also have a lot of volunteers that help you on your meditation journey through group or one-on-one sessions. So they have a very good structure, and I highly recommend that as a starting point.
There's a second part to that question by a few people was you mentioned no obviously no technology or mobiles, etc., the hour before sleeping, and you shared that very explicitly on the reasons behind that. But if I'm using guided meditation, is that an exception, or we should definitely do that in the mornings in terms of meditation if there's a preference at night?
No, so meditation, the best times of the day to do it are either in first thing in the morning or last thing at night. And then, of course, as you get more developed, you can practice it throughout the day as well. But again, this requires you to be clear that I will only use it for the meditation purpose, right? And one way you can benefit from this is switch off your notifications. That's one thing that I've done on my phone, because again, that was adding clutter in my life. When that message pops up, either because someone sent me something on social media or WhatsApp or a news article, I just put all my notifications off. So that way, even if I do have to use my phone, let's say for meditation purposes, at least I'm not looking at the screen. I'm just listening to the music through headphones or through the speaker, and there's no notifications or blinking lights that would disturb me. And then after the meditation, I put my phone on charge. And one thing that can help all of you is I actually charge my phone outside of my bedroom. I don't want those waves near my brain, and I don't want that distraction near me either. So I just charge my phone outside of my bedroom. So I hope that helps to answer your question.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. I mean, it's a lot of these things are choices we have to make, as much as they seem tough in the initial. I think it's just a new change and a new habit that we're forming, I guess.
Well, Gautam, I mean, the thing I always tell people is especially because a lot of people are focusing on immunity, all these things that I'm sharing affect your immunity, your mindset, how you treat your body, the radiation from these electronic devices, the sleep, all these things are affecting your immunity. So if you are going to take care of all these areas of your life one at a time, your immunity is just going to go up, up, and up. And just to share with you, if I look at the last time I was unwell, it was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, and that too, it was a cough for about, I think I had a cough for about 5 or 7 days. And since practicing all this, touch wood,
yeah,
I've just not fallen sick.
Fantastic. I'm going to take a couple more questions as we come close to the end of the time. But one question is from Chetna. So Chetna is saying, whilst I definitely appreciate the knowledge of 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and how that is, I mean, if we're not able to do that continuously in discipline, what about afternoon naps? Is that a substitute? And at the same time, does it also add value in the afternoon naps?
So look, I'm not a sleep specialist, but I will share with you what I know. An afternoon nap, it can interfere with your evening sleep, right? And the recovery is happening a lot of recovery is happening and healing through your evening sleep. So if your afternoon nap is a small one, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and it's more like a power nap where it's just, you get refreshed, that's one thing. But if your afternoon nap is 1 hour, 2 hours or something like that, and that's just to make sure you get the same number of hours, I'm not sure how much that can help, because what happens when you're sleeping at night, you're also going through different forms of sleep. You're going through a light sleep cycle, a deep sleep cycle, and what they call REM sleep, the rapid eye movement. And you have to ensure, I wear a sleep tracker, and that helps me to monitor my sleep patterns and how I'm sleeping, because sometimes, depending on what you eat or what you do before you go to bed, if your mind is stimulated or your stomach is not feeling well, your sleep gets affected. So again, it's all about listening to your body. It's not about don't put those boxes around yourself and say, I have to sleep this many hours. I only slept 6 hours at night. Let me get 2 hours in the day. Just listen to your body. If you're feeling tired, go to bed. If you're not tired, stay awake. But don't stimulate your brain at night when you should be going to bed, because then you're forcing your body to stay awake. You may not realize it, but if you start slowing down 1 hour before you should go to bed with all the tools that I shared with you earlier, switching off, dimming the lights, no electronics, changing, brushing your teeth, getting into that routine, and even perhaps practicing a meditation, you will notice that sleep will come more easily and more naturally around 10:30.
Thanks, Saahil. There's still many more questions. So I'm going to ask you one closing question, which I believe can sort of cover as much as we can. And maybe it leads on to something that you wanted to share with everyone who's participated today as well. You see, each and every one of us here in lockdown, we are used to having compartments in our life. I mean, I get to go to work in the morning, come back, and I have my time there. I get to go to the gym and have my time there. I have my me time. And now suddenly, for the last 2 months, many parts of the world, here in India especially, we've got to manage our exercise. We've got to manage our me time. We've got to manage our business or our profession, manage our relationship, all under one roof. I mean, how, what, where do we, what is your guidance in this space? I know it's an open-ended question, but really what's your perspective or thoughts on that? And then if you could lead that answer into what you have to provide for everyone who's participating today. Over to you, Saahil.
Okay, so what I would, advise is, as I mentioned, you already know what time the rest of your family is waking up. Wake up that little bit earlier. I wake up an hour before. Your morning routine doesn't have to be 1 hour. You can make it a little shorter. You can make it half an hour, 45 minutes. But wake up earlier so that you have that time to yourself, because you want to be energized, right? With everyone living under one roof, if you're not energized and something happens in the morning, it just affects your whole day. So ensure that you're waking up before everyone else. The second thing you can do is agree on quiet time. Agree on a time of the day, whichever time works for the whole family, that between this time and this time, we will not be listening to loud music. We won't be watching TV. We won't be making noise, because for people who want to reflect or just have that quiet time, at least you're all doing it collectively, right? Because it's all about working together. It's all about being united. So agree on that quiet time, ensure you get your morning routine. And for people who working at home, one of the things that I do is, for me, changing clothes makes a big difference. And it's not just changing clothes, but it's also where you work. I work in the same spot every single day. So when I go to work, essentially, I go to a specific area of the dining table. That's my desk right now, right? So my mind knows that, okay, now Saahil is going into work mode. And that's what the energy is for the work. And I'm wearing work clothes. The moment I finish my work, I don't sit there anymore. So now my body knows that, okay, he's not in work mode anymore. And I actually go and I change my clothes into something more comfortable. So it's all about setting these things to work with your mind, because if your workplace is everywhere in the house, sometimes your bedroom, sometimes the table, sometimes the bathroom, sometimes the floor, your mind gets confused that where's work and where's not work. So when you're at home, to have those compartments, it's very important to, have an area or the clothing to ensure that you understand, now I'm in work mode. So I hope those tools help. And as Gautam was mentioning, I have a nice little tip for all of you as well. And they're going to be sharing a link in the chat. But once you go to this website and enter your details, you'll receive a lot of the tools that I've been sharing today in the presentation on how to declutter your life. So if you're interested in that, please click on the link that is shared with all of you towards the end of this presentation. And I look forward to continuing and hearing about your journey moving forward.
Thank you very much, Saahil, for your valuable time today. It's been absolute inspiration. And what I love about everything is actionable ideas. It's not conceptual knowledge. It's real experience that you are going through personally, that your coaching clients have gone through and had transformations, including myself. So when it's actionable, that's where we know we can have a personal and professional transformation. So thank you for your valuable insights.
And Gautam, I'd like to say one more thing as a closing note. I'd like to say, start today, right? Because we always procrastinate. And, I'll share a little story. It's about the sailor who went to the captain and said, Captain, when can I get my pay? And the captain said, come tomorrow and you'll get your pay. So the next day, the sailor's all excited, goes back to the captain, says, Captain, can I get my pay now? And the captain said, didn't I tell you tomorrow? So tomorrow never comes, right? And I've given you steps that you can literally start applying immediately when you close this webinar, whether it's the food, whether it's the sleep, whether it's, calling up people to improve the relationships or within your household. These are all things you can start immediately.
Thank you. I'm just going to end with one poll. We're going to be bringing back Saahil. He's got the opportunity, if you'd like to coach with him one-to-one, whether you want to bring him in-house for your organization. And what we're going to organize is a sort of a virtual workshop. So if that's something you're interested in, just click and let us know. These are just for our feedback to know if you'd like to engage Saahil moving forward and really bring this as a sort of a change and transformation in your life. at the end of the day, it's about taking action now. But for me, what I'd say is I really appreciate that accountability that I received. I had sequential scheduled calls with Saahil, checking in on me. Sometimes I was up to the mark, sometimes I wouldn't. But just that accountability got me on track and it helped me make sure I achieve the results that I really want to achieve. And just having that sort of encouragement and accountability made a tremendous difference to me. And so that's something of interest. Let us know if you want to be part of a workshop to have more detailed experience, a 3-hour session for your organization, or even a one-to-one session. So thank you very much for participating in the poll. We will share those details in the coming weeks. And obviously, if that resonates with you, then it'd be an absolute pleasure to welcome you on board. I'll end the poll so you can get a sense of the results that everyone has shared. And just before we wrap up again, I'll just take the opportunity to run through sort of the updates as we have. We want to just acknowledge Passionpreneur Publishing, who are the publishers of my upcoming launch. I'm launching my book digitally at the Marshall Goldsmith event on Wednesday, and Passionpreneur Hubs are my publishing partners. If any of you would like to partner with us for our webinar series, we have over 5,000 participants each month. If that's something of interest, do let us know. I'd love to connect with each and every one of you on LinkedIn. And most importantly, you all shared takeaways, you all shared positive feedback in the chat box. But what really add value to Saahil and myself, if you click on the link, which has been shared by my colleague Bhavna in the chat box, or if you click on my link to connect with me on LinkedIn, and just share your feedback, just share what was your biggest takeaway from the session today. Where did you find value? Or even better, what one action are you going to take today? What one action are you going to take today that was inspired by the time you spent with Saahil? Share one takeaway, one actionable idea, or a simple appreciation of the time that you had with Saahil today. Just share that on the LinkedIn post. Once again, this is our chance. Individually, we are all leaders. This is our chance to pay it forward, to give back and help those in need. We are supporting 2,000 families every month to provide them food. Your contribution, everything counts. It's not about the amount. It's about the intention of paying it forward and giving back. So thank you in advance for your support. I'd like to thank Kata. Our upcoming webinar, we have over 2,500 people registered for this webinar. Why is that? He is the #1 leadership coach in the world. His book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, has been translated in numerous languages. He's the #1 coach, #1 thinker, and someone I greatly appreciative to call him a dear friend, professional friend. We're going to be launching him on Wednesday as his webinar. If that's something of interest, do join us. This was our series this month. And that about wraps it up for today. On behalf of Saahil and myself, thank you once again for being with us. It's been an absolute pleasure, privilege to be with you this morning on Saturday. Any closing comments, Saahil, before we call it a day?
As I already mentioned, start today.
Start today. Take action now. And do share your comments and feedback on our LinkedIn post. On behalf of Right Selection, myself and Saahil Mehta, thank you very much. Have a great day. God bless.